trying year of injury remains unbridled optimism. The Cardinals of Ball State storm the field in Muncie, Indiana. It's college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by Geico, as the Buffalo Bulls face the Ball State Cardinals. A pleasant good evening, everybody. John Sadak, the Hall of Famer, and Randy Cross. Ball State has had 31 first-time starters this year, while Buffalo needs to win out, including tonight, to be bowl eligible for the third time in its FBS history.
Well, Buffalo's been lucky in that they got their quarterback back a couple weeks ago. Tyree Jackson, he was out 4 weeks with a bad knee. He still probably has a pretty bad knee, but this big guy can spin it. 6'7", 240, and can really throw the ball. He used to be able to run a little bit better, but not as much now with that leg brace on that bad knee. Anthony Johnson, as a wide receiver, has done some really special stuff. Had a chance to really do some great stuff. 63 catches, 8 touchdowns, much better than he did in junior college.
Had 40 total catches in 2 years of junior college ball, while freshmen have dominated the field for Ball State thanks to injury. We'll see 3 impact freshmen here tonight.
Yeah, because of all those injuries, I guess the bright side is in 2018, they'll have a lot of experience on this team in their underclassmen. Here's 3 guys on the offensive side of the ball. Drew Plitz, a redshirt freshman. He'll be starting at quarterback for the 2nd week in a row. Caleb Huntley, big, powerful kid out of Atlanta. And Justin Hall, another Atlanta kid, having a really fine season at wide receiver, especially the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Justin Hall's catch total leads the MAC, 6.5 grabs per game. Buffalo won the toss, elected to receive, so Ball State ready to kick. There's the head man for the Buffalo Bulls, Lance Leipold. Now in his 3rd campaign, dominated at Division III Wisconsin Whitewater, went 109-6 at his alma mater, won 6 national titles in 8 seasons. He was the fastest to 100 wins in NCAA football history. Ryan Rimmler, born in Germany, handles kickoffs. KJ Osborne, the return man for Buffalo. Foot meets ball. Osborne. Helped out a play just shy of the 30. Jacob White aided him out of bounds. Time now for the Chick-fil-A starting lineups. Cal. I miss you, Cal. There's Tyree Jackson. We'll think bovine thoughts. 60% completion percentage. Sprained his knee September the 23rd against FAU. And gained a lot by watching his teammates on the field. Grew as a pocket passer. Off the fake. Finds Osborne. And he's got a first down spinning out of Bryce Cosby's tackle try. 17-yard pickup. Had a career day last time out.
Yeah, last week really was sort of, for him, the highlight of 2017. He's starting to round into form, and you'll see him fake the run a lot. He'll run fake with the running back. The problem is on the other end of that, the quarterback run, John, it's not really there.
Osborne motions. Giant sea of space. Quickly in the Ball State territory, Emmanuel Reed, who's got 400-yard games on the year. As we take a look at the rest of the Buffalo starters, we've already seen KJ Osborne make impact with a grab and on a return.
Yeah, being the other receiver from Anthony Johnson will be very fortuitous for Osborne, who is the near player in the slot next to Johnson, top of the screen.
Motion from Johnson to the bottom, looking his way, checking down over the middle. Lots of space, and KJ Osborne, you called it, partner.
Yeah, this Ball State defense is going to have to be hyper aware of KJ Osborne. Anthony Winbush, he's the sack master.
Jacob White able to make the stop. Team's top tackler with 60 on the year. Emmanuel Reed had some fumble problems last week, but his head coach Lance Leipold told us that he was ready to bounce back. He loved his quickness and he loved his mentality. Said he had an excellent week of practice.
Well, every skill player has to love being on this Buffalo team. This offensive line is one of the better offensive lines in the country.
Whistles blare it dead. Our referee Luke Richmond will make his first appearance.
They weren't set long enough.
False start. Offense. Number 28. 5-yard penalty. Third down.
A tough penalty on the Bulls.
Everybody that was moving, coming out of that bunch formation has to be set and still for a full count.
They called it on the tight end, Lynn Malinich. We've seen limited time, but they said they would factor in more this week. Jackson forced to run and improvise, lunging forward. He has the 32.5. He'll be short. Jackson pre-injury easily would have had the first, right?
Yeah, I mean, at his size, he reminds a lot of people physically of a Cam Newton, John. I mean, he is a big physical dude that can throw it, and when he didn't have this knee injury, he could run the ball, and he would be a real threat on a fourth down like this. Not only just a straight keeper up front.
Ball State has been great defensively on fourth down, 8th best in America. Opponents don't go for it a lot, but they're only 3 for 11 against Ball State. Needing a yard. Oh, they're going to get it. The aggressive cutback. Emmanuel Reed slashes a path to move the chains. Jacob White takes him out.
Yeah, missed tackle right up there in the front. Defensive tackle Fred Schroeder, Ted, on the outside, defensive end, I should say. Schrader, he missed that tackle.
After converting on fourth, hard cadence. The flag flies.
Offside. Defense. Number 35. 5-yard penalty. First down.
It goes on James Jeanette, the redshirt freshman. Only 8 tackles on the year. Working in as Sean Hammond's coming back from a concussion, not getting quite the same volume of reps.
Yeah, that's a discipline problem and an inexperience problem. Just watch the ball. You're out there and look in. If that ball moves when the center moves, that's when you go, not before.
7th play of the drive. The aggressive inside run, Jeanette was there. Stopped him about 1.5 yards shy. Tonight's Red Zone brought to you by Verizon. Buffalo gets touchdowns 53% of the time. Jackson on the run, floats it. Incomplete. Looking for KJ Osborne. He's been the favorite target early.
Yeah, they're rolling to Johnson. They're going to Johnson as far as if they got man coverage, they're doing cloud to him, which means they're going to roll to him and make sure he's got double coverage or someone's always got him either inside or over the top. That should mean KJ Osborne should get a lot of single coverage.
Extra offensive lineman Paul Nosworthy in as they go big. Running right. The spot looks favorable for Emmanuel Reed. It appears he's got the first. Well, pounding into David Ruth.
The #1 goal of this struggling defense coming in here tonight was to get off the field, to convert on these third downs and make Buffalo, in this case, try a field goal, but get the defense off the field. And mission not accomplished so far for this defense because they're giving up a heck of a drive here for the opening drive from Buffalo. Looks like man at the bottom of the screen.
Lob it to Johnson, who stumbles. They had the one-on-one with Josh Miller.
Yeah, it looked like they had exactly what they wanted. They actually were allowing for KJ Osborne with the 2 safety, the nickelback and the safety inside. And Johnson on the outside had man coverage. Jackson just threw the ball in the perfect spot. You see where that ball landed. It was just barely outside the end zone. Would have been a perfect over the left shoulder catch if Johnson hadn't stumbled.
11th play of the drive, out of the pistol. They love running to that right side in a fierce hit. Popped on Emmanuel Reed.
Well, this gets them in a situation they haven't seen much here. Here's a chance for Winbush. Lined up right here. See if he can get some pressure, get some heat.
Osborne had double coverage as the ball sailed past him, bracketed by Bryce Cosby and Romero Wade.
Well, Winbush gets there, but look at the pressure inside. They bring a safety and a linebacker with the blitz inside. That's why Jackson's got to get rid of that ball so early.
So he's to the sidelines. Adam Mitchison on for a 33-yard field goal. 12 of 20 this year, along with 42 against FAU. And he converts. The Cardinals bend but don't break, and they force the Bulls to settle for 3. The visitors get the early score, but number 3 Tyree Jackson knows he had a touchdown. Buffalo has never won here in Muncie. On top early, the Cardinals, who have used 4 different quarterbacks this year, will hand things to their 3rd string man. We're back. The David Letterman Communication and Media Building in honor of David Letterman, a 1969 Ball State grad, as we check in with Tina Cervasio down at the sidelines.
John, this week I had a chance to talk to Buffalo defensive end Damone Harris, and he said tonight is like a playoff game for Buffalo. Now, this goes back to last week when they finally snapped a 4-game skid, and as Harris told me, it was a long October because they had so many close games that they lost. So that win kept Buffalo alive for bowl eligibility. John, you and Randy talked about it, but they have to win out. So Harris said a chance to get to a bowl game. It was a big topic this week in practice with players and coaches, and he says these last 2 games are like fighting for your life in the playoffs, and as Harris told me, it's a win or go home for Buffalo.
We appreciate it, Tina, and love that mentality. The team's top performer in sacks and tackles for loss, bringing that leadership too.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Coaches look for that all the time at the college level. It's hard to get it out of a lot of players. It's a natural trait, though.
Malik Dunner. Ball down for a touchback. Time now for the Chick-fil-A starting lineups. I missed you, Cal. They've used 4 different starting quarterbacks this year, Ball State. Drew Plitt is the latest to that group, a redshirt freshman who threw a couple of touchdown passes at Eastern Michigan November the 2nd, Randy. Those were the first touchdown passes for the program since September 16th.
Yeah, offensively, as dark as the days have been defensively for a lot of reasons. Offensively, because of the quarterback change, they have a limited playbook.
Out of the gun, the inside run, they've become a more run-heavy team. As we take a look at the rest of the starters, the offensive line has been juggled dramatically. Vinny Palizzetti was their center last year, played some guard, was right tackle a couple of weeks ago, recently moved to left tackle.
Yeah, that is nearly impossible when you've got that kind of lack of continuity. You know, Palizzetti's going to get a lot of speed rush, a lot of stuff on the edge at the left tackle.
Khalil Newton swung down by Devin Russell, the JUCO transfer. That'll move the chains. Let's meet the starters for the Buffalo defense, including the 2nd leading tackler in America, Khalil Hodge.
He makes a lot of tackles because Ford and Brandon inside eat up blocks like crazy, enable Hodge to run to the ball.
Already has set the program's single-season tackle record. Trying to bounce it outside, Caleb Huntley. The ball carrier. Zigzags a path to the 39.
And that's saying something about a linebacker at Buffalo. Remember, there's a guy named Khalil Mack who was playing here a couple years ago. Granted, he was on the outside, but he seemed like he was everywhere when he was playing for the Bulls.
His brother is on the team currently as a linebacker, doesn't see the field a whole lot. but indeed a major dynamo. Backs out, pressure, ball free! And Buffalo has it! The Bulls pounce on the free football. And Ball State able to swoop in. Where did that ball squirt free?
What a great rally to the ball. I think it was Blackwell, 62, that ends up on this ball. See him digging in there? That's him on the ground. That's Blackwell. He basically rips the ball away. He's out there at right tackle working against Jarrett Franklin. He tears it away from Jarrett Franklin.
Physical display. Now the run through the arm tackle. Caleb Huntley rumbles back to the original line of scrimmage. Jarrett Franklin, Khalil Hodge there. No fourth down, but at least they somehow maintain the football, already down 3-0.
That's something watching this Huntley as a freshman, the way he runs. I'll tell you something that's also interesting. Any punting activity by Ball State. Let's see how they do. Had 2 blocked last week.
Dead last in America in net punt average, less than 30 yards. To KJ Osborne, who lets it bound. And gets an extra few for the Cardinals to the Buffalo 26. A 38-yard punt, no chance to run it back. Another chance for the Buffalo Bulls after the clean punt by Nathan Snyder. Tyree Jackson back to the field. Let's get an eye on college football, brought to you by Chase Sapphire Reserve. Badgers try to stay unbeaten. The Bulldogs trying to bounce back. And Brady Hoke, a man that Ball State knows well, 2008, led the Cardinals to a 12-win campaign in major national glory.
There's some glory days. You know, it's one of those years after playing a lot of young players for a year or two. So if you're here at Ball State, it's kind of your point of reference. After that, they've had 8 and 3 years or 8 and 4 years. They've had 9 and 3 years. They've had a 12 and 0 year.
On the rebuild for a very young and injury-riddled program. Buffalo knows that pain some. Emmanuel Reed. They continue to drive the right side, doing it in creative ways. Jacob White, who has that big cast part of the pair, along with Brandon Martin to disrupt.
Yeah, really nice motor and run from the backside. Windbush, 98. Pass situation here. Maybe you can get this offense into a 2nd and 9, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8. You can get some obvious passing and a chance to tee off. We've already seen a couple of blitzes already out of Ball State.
Windbush among the sack masters in America. Only 3 down linemen here. Osborne has some space. He goes right through the whip tackle, dancing up the sidelines. Tackling was a bit of an issue in that first drive, as we take a look at your keys today.
Yeah, for Buffalo, a clean pocket for Jackson. And on defense, get him off the field, win on first down and finish, and hits, sacks, and tackles for loss for this Ball State defense.
Bit of a high snap. Jackson feeling the pressure. Gets it off and off the hand of Emmanuel Reed. Driving in was James Jeanette.
Jeanette was one of the more frustrating things for any defensive end, especially somebody that likes to go play sick'em with the quarterback. You give him about a foot or two and he gets rid of the ball.
Have you seen that kind of pocket awareness, presence, growth from Jackson post-injury?
Well, I've seen him knowing full well he's got to hold on to the ball. You've already seen him run a few times. He's not much of a threat with his feet right now because of that brace and that knee.
Johnson in motion. He's been fairly quiet. Blitz is on. They go to Johnson. Block holds on the edge. And he plays some duck-duck-goose with a pat on the helmet.
Jackson's pass is complete.
Spears a pass in the Ball State territory.
Brandon Martin.
Nice. And there's a Cardinal slow to get up.
Nice block on the outside by KJ Osborne. Osborne lays down the block. That gives him the edge. Ooh, that's a... They leave some laundry on the ground, not a flag. Some jock straps.
13-yard pickup as they tend to the down Cardinal.
Or compression shorts, I guess I should say these days.
Yeah.
Not many of those old jock straps anymore to be faked out of.
It looks like this is Christian Albright, the freshman who got the start at end. He got the start in part not only because of his play and the youth movement for Ball State, but Sean Hammonds, who was the probable starter at end, only just came back himself from a concussion.
See him right there, 51, that left leg's on the ground as his fellow defenders come in and hit that left leg. That blow from the outside can be a tough one. Not many knee braces out there for the linebackers and defensive backs in most defenses. That's why you see interior linemen wear those braces, because it avoids getting that outside tweak exactly like that.
Well, we spoke with Mike New in preparation for this game, the former Ball State quarterback, now the head coach. You talked to him about these injuries and how he handles it. And he exuded so much positivity that seemed infectious.
Yeah, I mean, what choice do they have? It's one of the oldest cliches, and it's not really a cliche, it's an axiom, and it's true. Injuries are an excuse. You know, everybody gets injuries, and Coach New he's stressed it to his defensive coordinator, Coach Elson, his offensive coordinator, Joey Lynch, who used to play here at Ball State. It's just, you don't talk about that stuff. There's a lot of schools around the country right now that are in this kind of position. They're starting freshmen, they're starting walk-ons. Hey, it's next man up.
Anthony Johnson, who became the fourth in Buffalo history to reach 1,000 yards receiving, now in third on the all-time list after that grab. Tyree Jackson is 4 of 8 early.
Look at the coverage in the bottom of the screen. You've got Johnson in the slot, Osborne outside. One of those is getting single man coverage.
Safeties fade. Jackson checking down. Johnson goes up and gets it. Wins the football in front of Bryce Cosby and picks up 23 yards for another first down.
Well, they roll the coverage to Johnson. They've got high and low. Low is behind him, high is in front of him, and that ball is just snatched out of the air. That's great hands.
The lob for Johnson. This time, touchdown. Corbin Copy. They had the same chance against the same defender, Josh Miller, but this time Johnson holds his stride, a 21-yard scoring strike.
Yeah, and Jackson at quarterback, you've got to say that was as good a pretty pass. He's thrown 2 in a row there to Johnson. One over the middle, and this one just feathered in over the top. You're going to man cover Johnson, the role he's on, you're going to see a lot of that.
Point after from Mitchison is true. 3 grabs, 57 yards for Anthony Johnson. And this touchdown from 21 yards out. It's college football presented by Geico. Quarterback Tyree Jackson staying hot in more ways than one. And for more on his dynamic with Anthony Johnson, let's check in with Tina.
John, when I talked to Tyree Jackson this week, he said that Anthony Johnson is one of the best football players that he has ever been around. Not only is he a dynamic receiver, but he's so good, he said, that anyone could play the quarterback position if you are throwing to Johnson. But Jackson's also quick to point out that his entire receiving corps can make plays. John?
Appreciate that. And Anthony Johnson's mental game, a big part of his success. Something that offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki talked about, how he handles being moved around. And we've seen that in the early stage of this game. Malik Gunner. Yanked down at about the 30.
Malik Gunner on the kickoff return.
Yeah, that trade is priceless for an offensive coordinator for a receiver. You got a kid like Johnson on the next level, if he should be so lucky as to play on the next level, that ability to adjust to the slot, to the outside, to the tight, you can do that at that level, that'll really show some star.
22-yard return to help Ball State out. Caleb Huntley, the deep back, Drew Plitt, redshirt freshman, one of 4 different starting quarterbacks employed by Ball State. Off the fake. Trying to make a play in space, and the stiff arm for Justin Hall creates some wiggle, carrying the ball with him.
And we talked about Justin Hall a little earlier. He's one of 8 scholarship kids this last year from the Atlanta area really struck gold with Hall. He's a kid that can take that ball and make people miss. Early on here, we're seeing some pretty rough tackling by both defenses.
And Brandon Williams had to miss there. The numbers for Hall outstanding. Tops in the back, total grabs. Off the motion. Marquise Hurd giving it a touch, the true freshman out of Michigan City, Indiana. Now, Ball State today, Randy, is probably going to use more two-back sets. They want to try to find ways to involve Huntley, Hurd, and Dunner as often as possible.
Yeah, Dunner with that quick motion on that last play. That you'll see them throw that pass sooner rather than later, and it'll be a good ad too.
Split backfield here. This time the motion by Hurd. They pump that direction. Click, thinking longer. Riley Miller, underthrown, intercepted. Ryan Williamson with a flag down. Now he's finally to the turf, but in Ball State territory. It's the third pick of the year for the free safety, Ryan Williamson. Run back 26 yards, but well, some of those yards come back.
Yeah, playing in the middle, that center fielder kind of deeper than the deepest, and the ball didn't get deepest.
During the return, illegal blocking it back. Defense number 92. 10-yard penalty. First down, Buffalo.
We spoke with defensive coordinator Brian Borland about Ryan Williamson. He said that he improved so dramatically in the last half of the season that the light came on, and he thought some of it was being challenged by one of the true freshmen for Buffalo, Kobe Green, who's rotating in there. A pick for Williamson. The Bulls up 2 scores. They've got the ball right back. Here's the top 5 as it stands, and I think I can feel the yank from the truck. Producer Mark Burkhardt of the Villanova Wildcats, his beloved alma mater. Wichita State in the top 10. The Trojans of USC. Does that burn a hole in your heart there, Randy?
Somewhere a little lower.
Swing it to the flat. Johnson running through 2 tackles. Anthony Johnson finally collides with Wimbush and Lorenzo Holmes, who got the start today. 15 yards.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons you move your receiver around. He's not just an edge guy. Put him in the slot, give him a little quick pass, and let him use his legs. That is just swiveling those hips, and he's just refusing to be hit, avoiding people. And so far, 4 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Get some water, get some oxygen, and get the kid more balls.
It's helped Tyree Jackson, who's converted on his last 4 pass tries. Little lob tip, dangerous ball. Incomplete. Right on the edge of disaster for Tyree Jackson.
Well, that was disaster, but you can see it from there. Stepping up in the pocket, nice coverage down the field. I mean, the ball was tipped definitely by Ruth, but why it was thrown in the first place is debatable.
And David Ruth, for what it's worth, is used to activities like that. His senior year of high school, he was the soccer goalkeeper and a football player. Did not practice, only played games. Made many saves just like that. Another rumble right through a tackle. Emmanuel Reed. Punishing drive, finally stopped by Romero Wade.
How about Emmanuel Reed? You talk about getting some excellent blocking up front. Great blocking, especially inside at that center position by James O'Hagan, and running with your shoulders over your knees, over the ball. One thing to hit is shoulder pad and helmet when you run like that.
Offense, number 16, 15-yard penalty. First down,
unnecessary
Buffalo.
roughness called against Buffalo. Goes against Antonio Nunn, who the Buffalo staff told us we'd see a little more this week at 13 grabs on the season entering today.
But the backup, the other 4 receivers on the field for Buffalo.
Play fake. Jamal Island. Tackling continues to be problematic. It feels like the Bulls are getting an extra at 2 to sometimes 10 yards after first contact.
Yeah, it's something that you work on. You try to train your receivers or the people that handle the ball to run through tackles to protect the ball. But right now, especially on the outside, Coach New's defensive backs are not tackling well. It's all arm tackles so far.
Bunch trips. Zach to distract. Extra blitzer. And Jackson's down. Jacob White gets into the backfield and drops him near the logo. A loss of 7.
Yeah, we've seen Coach Elson, the defensive coordinator, take some chances. That was a blitz and a whiff. The block was missed, and the blitz was getting home. Luckily, there wasn't some sort of a call there, too. There was a crown in the helmet and a quick hit there.
White, top tackler on this Ball State team. David Elson told us that he's been playing his best football in the last few weeks. We expected him to shine today. Ball State might have been trying to call time out there.
Emmanuel Reed, the ball carrier.
I think I saw Mike New pacing up and down the sidelines, furiously driving his fingers into the palm of his hand.
Well, sets up 3rd and 12.
Cardinal fans.
There's Winbush, bottom of the screen, 98. Can he get that heat? Can he get himself another sack? No blitz.
He's driven down. Jackson loads up. Long heave. Incomplete. Looking again for Jamal Island, matched up with Bryce Cosby. He's had a bit of a tough start to this game on the back end.
Well, making Jackson reestablish the pocket with the heat. Had to run out to his left. Just couldn't quite find anyone to get the ball to. There was nothing underneath. Good job of coverage by the Ball State defense. And the deep throw was just a little bit out of his range, it would appear. Especially moving sideways like that.
Kyle DeWeen to punt. The whistles come, they don't get it off.
That's okay.
Play game, offense, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
It's okay, you're on the 43-yard line. Push you back to the 48.
Please reset the game
Return has
clock
been
to 50 seconds.
troublesome for Ball State
50
this year.
seconds. Thank you.
Riley Miller, former walk-on, earned a scholarship and wide receiver, handles it now. Corey Lacanaria had been a dynamo in return game, but broke his collarbone.
A little more room for DeWeen to try to get this inside the 10.
Clean kick, fair catch. Just shy of the 20, 28-yard punt.
You ever seen a pooch punt?
Have you ever seen a season like this for Buffalo? It has been filled with close calls and near misses. 6 losses by 29 total points. The 4 conference losses by 15 points. And oh yeah, one of the longest games in college football history, wrong side.
Yeah, that Western Michigan game. 7 overtimes. Get Milas in the game at quarterback for Ball State.
Coach Staff told us it was likely we would see Milas along with Clint. The inside run yields little. He's a senior. 54%. Is yet to throw a touchdown this year. Does have 11 on his career. All of his interceptions have been impactful this year, though.
And as we saw in the last interception that was thrown by Plitt, you know, that's just quarterback error. That's throwing a ball into coverage and throwing it into the one place you can't afford to throw it if you're going to throw it into double coverage, and that's short of your receiver into the arms of the DB.
Final seconds fade. They'll take this one to the second. Through one in Muncie. Buffalo a 2-score lead on the host Cardinals. We'll return to Ball State after this. Lance Leipold, another solid first quarter for his program. Welcome back to Muncie. It wasn't poor play, Randy Cross. It was injury that has forced Ball State to start 4 different quarterbacks. This year, they've employed 2 tonight.
And when you've got, what is probably, you model it against New Orleans and Sean Payton's offense, a pretty extensive playbook that Coach New wants to have his offense to have. But, Joey Lynch, the offensive coordinator, will be the first one to tell you, reps have cut down on the amount of playbook he's able to use.
Drew Clint on the sidelines. Zach Milas swings it in the flat. Oh, what a hit by Khalil Hodge. The rest of the gang arrives thereafter, including Ryan Williamson. He is a physical backer, second only to San Jose State's Frank Ginda for total tackles in the FBS this year.
Well, they set him up. When they put him in man and they'll let him go on the outside, it's not like Ball State isn't trying to get a block on the linebacker. They're trying to get a body on him. He won't be blocked.
3rd down here.
Let it go.
Play fake to Dunner. Pocket collapsing. Milas forced to tuck. And he gets chipped down. Chibuzi on Wuka, part of the pair, to get low on the 6'1" quarterback.
Yeah, they went high. He ducked low and tried to squirt out. And Onwuka comes back after the dodge and gets himself a little piece of a sack. Milas sees things are not going well. Fool me once and fake me out one time. Might be my fault, but you get me the second time. That was a nice play.
I think he hit all the D's there. Dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge. And down. KJ Osborne decides to pick it up on the mound and gets smacked after a few yards to the 41.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
43-yard kick. Osborne appears to be no worse for the wear. And Morgan Hagee, place kicker / punter, back on the field. 10-0 Buffalo. Tyree Jackson has the driver's seat when we're back. Let's take a look at the Go RVing road trip facts for Ball State here in Muncie. Named after the Lenape Native Americans who spoke Muncie, the home of Jim Davis, the man who made Garfield. I love lasagna, cat after my own heart. David Letterman, an alumnus, class of 1969. Might we see some stupid pet tricks in the crowd tonight? I'm up for it.
Yeah, I guess you could.
Dumb broadcaster
if there's
tricks.
any penguins.
Okay, I could do it. Tyree Jackson loading up again. Johnson one-on-one. Loses the football. They attack Josh Miller yet again. Johnson's 1 for 3 against Miller, but that one is a touchdown.
Well, that's the value of staying close. Then you can use your hands. And look at Miller and the way he rakes the arms. Comes across the neck of Johnson, slaps down at the ball. Nice job, young man. Never touching that face mask.
A lot of skill and physicality. Osborne motions. Off the fake to Anderson. Osborne runs through the first hit and gets smashed from behind. Brandon Martin finished what Bryce Cosby initially had difficulty with. Cosby slow to get up. He's on his backside. Athletic training staff summoned to the field
for an injury.
Cosby was the only true freshman that started the season opener. He made a spectacular one-handed interception at Illinois against a Big Ten foe. But the grind of the season for the freshman has caught up some, and we've seen some of that tonight.
Good persistence. Wasn't exactly a form tackle, but you look into how-to as far as a first defender. Your job is to get there and hold on or delay the runner till you can get help coming back to you. The help came back.
Take a look at the young man from Louisville. We'll step aside. Lance Leipold dominated Division III at Wisconsin Whitewater, his alma mater, which did not make the D3 field this year. But with Buffalo, they were on a 4-game losing skid until last time out. A 10-point win against Bowling Green, something he called huge, something that his team needed mentally. 3rd and 6. Christian Albright back on the field. KJ Osborne's wide open. Osborne's got the first down. He has been looked at often, and it's been perfect with Jackson to Osborne.
Just see that Johnson going across the formation. They declared they were going to cloud to him. You could tell it was going to be zone, and the nice job by Jackson of dumping it into the hole.
5 targets, 5 grabs. Now Anderson with a giant sea of space, flag down, and so is Anderson. Ripped to the earth by Brandon Martin. Tempo displayed here by Buffalo after some longer huddles. Referee Luke Richmond in this MAC crew.
And tempo is a luxury you can have when you have some continuity. When you get a quarterback and an offense together for a while, you can run a little quicker. Coach New and the offense, they can't
Offside.
for Ball State. There's
Defense.
no continuity.
Penalties declined. Result of the play is a first down for Buffalo.
So an offside declined, exactly the words that Mike New and Joey Lynch had when we met the other day. 13-yard pickup here as they declined the penalty. That, yes, they would like to run some New Orleans Saints-like offense, similar to what Mike New coached when he was the QB man to Drew Brees in New Orleans. But without the same faces of practice each week, hard to establish that rapport. Good read here. Ruth into the backfield. David Ruth, as soon as the ball hit the belly, pounded it to Theo Anderson.
Yeah, nice call. Coach Ellison, defensive coordinator. That was all slants and blitz, a run blitz directly into the teeth of it.
Theo Anderson coming off a career day, 133 yards, a touchdown, after Emmanuel Reed had fumbled issues in the win against Bowling Green. Locked left side after a pump, looking for Johnson, defender down! Anthony Johnson, touchdown! His second score of the game, this one from 14 yards out.
Yeah, good diagnosis by Tyree Jackson at quarterback. He recognizes the coverage he's going to get. He knows the route combination. Osborne comes up. The corner has to honor it and come forward. The safety is left alone on Johnson. That's almost not fair.
Good news, bad news. That was Bryce Cosby. Bad, he got beat, but the good, remember, he was helped off the field right before we went to break. So at least healthy enough to get back into game action.
And they knew that, too. They were going to go after him.
Snap and spot. Point after, no good. A 6-play, 61-yard drive. They missed the cherry on top, but Tyree Jackson did not miss his man. Pump fake. The young fella who grew up rooting for Aaron Rodgers, showing some fine touch at a 16-0 margin. (16-0) Buffalo at Ball State. Our Tops crew sounds off Sunday morning, 8 Eastern, as our panel of NFL experts bring you up to speed on everything from the field through fantasy. Don't miss that other pregame show presented by Kubota on CBS Sports Network. Tyree Jackson closing in on 200 yards already, Randy Cross. He's trying to attempt something no Bull has ever done. If he reaches 300 yards, he'd be the first in program history to do so in 3 straight games, and it would be in the wake of missing 4 with a sprained knee.
Yeah, with 174 so far, you'd say he's got a pretty good shot. The way he's throwing the ball and the way he's recognizing coverages and soft spots.
Dunner on the line drive kick. Chipped down just beyond the 25. But Ball State in dire straits offensively. Buffalo's had the ball more than Ball State has and has been far more productive. They've used both Drew Plitt and Jack Milas at quarterback. Milas gets the call here. Plus 20 for plays, and look at that number. Plays in the opponent's territory, 20-0.
Ouch. 20 of the 31 plays are in the opponent's territory. That's effective offensive play calling.
Caleb Huntley trying to bounce it back outside, pinballs off the first hit, and picks up a hard 8 yards.
Now, does this kid run and look like a freshman to you? I mean, he runs like an upperclassman. He's tough, he's physical. We haven't seen the first guy take this guy down yet, I don't think.
Huntley carrying the load This time the possession doubled up in Buffalo's favor. Out of the pistol, the freshman Huntley sidecar. Thank you very much. Launching himself to the 43. He's one of the many with the Atlanta flavor on this team, led by this freshman recruiting class, something that just kind of snowballed. It wasn't the original plan, and then they found all this talent down where you've called home for a long time.
Yeah, it's a great area, specifically south of Atlanta. They've in the suburban area outside of Atlanta. They've really done a great job down in the Douglasville area.
6 carries, 35 yards. Keeper here for Milas. And he gets clobbered by Tim Roberts, but picks up 5 as we check in with Tina.
I asked head coach Mike New if he showed any of his quarterbacks film of Drew Brees because he works so closely with him. And Coach New said he's hesitant to do that because he doesn't want players to think, oh, here he goes again with that NFL player that he helped develop. But he said in trying to develop a college player, he says the best person to show film is Brees because of his footwork, the way he drops, his rhythm, and timing. So he does show some film of Brees.
A pretty good guy to get a look at. Undersized quarterback who made his hay thanks to that sharp footwork as Huntley gets very close to the first. Looks like he'll be just shy depending upon the spot.
And one thing that Brees has had, John, in the good years with the Saints is a running game kind of like Coach New has had on this series. 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards. Just a methodical job of running the ball. That takes a lot of pressure off your D and lets them get a little blow on the sideline, too.
If you have a big D like the Saints do this year, though, that defense can help you.
Where's that been? Where's that been for most of Drew Brees' career?
Cody Rudy, the blocking fullback. The outer cutback has the first down for Caleb Huntley. He welcomes the harm, and as you alluded to, Randy, something that Joey Lynch, the offensive coordinator, spoke of when heralding Huntley's play, that he's faster than you think. Yeah, he's 5'10", 225. He's got some pep to him, too.
Well, when he gets the blocking up front, ask either of the safeties for Buffalo how much fun he is to tackle with about an 8-yard run and start. Because they're all going about shin high trying to tackle him. They're not going to get up high. He'll knock them right over.
Ball State finally in Buffalo territory. Aggressive motion. And a soft touch. Justin Hall, who's been fairly quiet. He picks up about 8 yards.
Now there is a smart move by Hall. You know, you have two choices usually when you catch a ball like that. You can look and figure who you're going to make miss, or you just take the shortest distance between 2 points. Just a straight line. Drop your pads, go straight ahead, and get as many yards as possible. Nice decision by the young man.
Geometry. I was told there would be no math, Randy. Huntley. Huge hole. Brandon Williams, part of the pair to trip him up, along with Chuck Harris, the defensive end. This drive has been 5 runs by Caleb Huntley.
And we've seen those safeties get involved by necessity for Buffalo. You get that running back past that second level, and you make that one safety miss. That's where you get a nice big chunk.
Rudy, the fullback, play fake to Hurt, swinging out, and another play made by Justin Hall. Finally felled right near the marker. Randy, he's had what, 3 touches, and on all 3 of them, superhuman one-man effort to earn extra yards.
And just smart plays. And that's exactly what that was. You're going to get the ball. Now you got to make the first guy miss. Once you make the first guy miss, those are bonus yards. And he made the first guy and the second guy ultimately miss, and that gave him those extra bonus yards.
Jordan Collier was the first to arrive, the UAB transfer, a converted safety who left UAB when the program was disbanded. 9th play of the drive. Play fake to Hurt. Milas, one-on-one, jump ball tipped in, complete. Nice job by Brandon Williams to arrive as the ball did and disrupt.
Yeah, Brandon Williams gets there and gets that inside arm position on Hall so that when that ball comes, he just looks back. Here's that inside arm, and he's raking things away. That ball hit Hall right in the mug. But that arm swiped across his face, distracted him from being able to see that ball.
Now 2nd and 10. This is a nearly 5-minute drive, something Ball State is in dire need of. They normally lean on time of possession some. They've been dwarfed in it today. Right back to the ground, off tackle, and a giant hurdle. Caleb Huntley, a furious run.
He was upended more than it was a hurdle. Watch the tackle attempt come into the shins. That flips him up into the air. And you don't want to tackle this kid up high. That's a smart decision. Take the legs out. Took him all the way out there.
Picked up a dozen. He's got double-digit carries. In the red zone. Huntley bounces off the first hit. Second wave swallows him up at the 4. Ball State in the red zone. Not great at getting points, but touchdowns 63% of the time. That is decidedly better than their Bulls counterparts, who normally arrive in the end zone with big plays.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 70 to 75 plus as far as touchdowns to field goals in the red zone.
National average just a hair under what Ball State has amassed, and a timeout called by Jack Milas. First of the game by either team.
Ball State. That is their first charge timeout.
2nd and 4, not a bad decision by Milas. Get this situation, get this chance to put up some points, specifically a touchdown. Don't run anything you're not positive about.
And Mike New is about as positive a coach as you'll find. The MAC Player of the Year when he quarterbacked Ball State back in 1993. He's from Indianapolis, only about an hour and a half's drive away. Made his first big noise in the Arena League. He was the Arena League's Coach of the Year with the New Orleans Voodoo in 2004, and then wound up scouting in the NFL for the Saints. Yeah, that scouting look helps him in recruiting some.
Well, it helps in recruiting, specifically speaking to kind of body types and metrics, not metrics as in numbers, but arm length, hand size, things like that, and how that relates to certain positions.
Out of the timeout, the counter for Huntley. Hodge the first to arrive, and then help from Jordan Collier. They knew who would get the ball.
Remember the downhill nature of the runs we've seen Huntley make? Anytime you can get a runner like this, go sideways. That decision right there where that little hop sideways, that's a huge plus.
They've just put Nolan Given into the game, number 88 tight end. He leads the team with 3 touchdown receptions on the year. His first collegiate catch was a score. He's been a favored target in the red zone.
Left side, left tight end. A little drag delay to the other side.
Let it go.
The lob. Incomplete. Looking for Brennan Gillis, the former Division II basketball player at Northern Kentucky.
Brennan Gillis.
Good man coverage. Gillis just couldn't get to exactly where he wanted to be and couldn't get up to where he wanted to be.
So here's Morgan Hagee, who began the year 1 of 5 on field goals, then made 6 straight, 4 from 40 yards. This is a chippy from 21. And the Cardinals have points. They had down and goal at the 4 and settled for 3.
Yeah, they made him go sideways. That's why they had to settle for 3 instead of just the straight downhill running we didn't see.
Hilltoppers welcome the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, only on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Here's how it shapes up at Conference USA. Lane Kiffin has Florida Atlantic 6-0 in league play, running their own version of some of that Baylor, Tulsa-esque run-heavy spread for the Owls.
And 5-5. Both Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky looking at getting bowl eligible.
A lot on the line for them. Buffalo needs to win tonight and next week on Senior Day against Ohio to be bowl eligible. A.J. Osborne, oh, what a hit, and he runs right through it. Osborne launches and hops out of bounds. That was the kicker that helped drive him out of play, Ryan Rimler. the German-born kickoff specialist, a 27-yard return.
Well, we've seen Osborne make some big plays, but how about the job that Johnson's done so far? And on the outside, Anthony Johnson came in here with 63 catches, now 2 touchdowns. He's done it the short way, and he's done it the long way with the bomb earlier on the first touchdown catch.
The first Bull to 10 receiving touchdowns this year. Off the pump, the late handoff, and right there, James Jeanette smashes into Theo Anderson for a loss of about 4.
We talk about Coach Elson, the defensive coordinator. He points out, you know, our guys know what we want them to do. They know where we want them to be, and there's multiple opportunities on tape to show them, see, this is what you do it the right way. They've run the same calls and not been in the best spots sometimes, though.
Part of the growing pains of a younger team.
Consistency, or lack thereof.
He was the only change to Mike New's staff from year 1 to year 2. Former head coach at Western Kentucky. Hard inside run by Theo Anderson, the redshirt freshman, as he earns a lot of those yards back. There's David Elson, a Butler alumnus, so he knows a lot about the Indiana ways. He was the head coach at Western Kentucky during its transition from FCS to FBS, twice had the #1 team and then 1AA back in the 2005 campaign.
Back in the Jack Harbaugh years.
Indeed. And John would be around from time to time back then as a volunteer advisor. Motion, and it looks like a timeout.
Timeout, Buffalo. That is their first charge timeout of the half. 30-second timeout.
Lance Leipold wants to talk things over. It looked like the motion was a little disjointed. There were some moving parts there.
Yeah, they wanted to be sure they're going to execute the play the proper way. Smart decision. You have the timeouts to use. And remember, Jackson's a quarterback that hasn't played a whole lot so far this year. A big part of the season he missed in the middle.
Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, Adam Zucker, Brian Jones, Houston Nutt, get you caught up on all the latest in college football. Head your way next on the Verizon Halftime Report. Here are the numbers today for Tyree Jackson. A couple of scores in the air. Before his injury, games 1 through 5, he averaged about 10 carries and 50 yards rushing a game. In 2 games since, it was 1 rush for -2 yards entering tonight.
Yeah, it's a labor, you can tell, but it's made him better passing.
Wimbush. Double coverage, go up and get it, rip it down, Antonio Nunn. That's a will for the football, battling Lorenzo Holmes and Bryce Cosby.
That was a passing version of a punt. That ball was so high. Then it's just outfight the defense for the ball. That's all that is. That's not the old high point the ball or anything else. That just got more want to than the other guys you're going up for the ball with. None. Beautiful example of that.
That's the 16th play of 45-plus yards for the Bulls this year. They had 5 all of last season. Anderson motions out. Johnson, oh, the timing exquisite, and he's in for his 3rd touchdown.
Look what he found. He turned around, that ball was on him in a flash. Talk about ball placement by Tyree Jackson. He knows exactly where he's going with it. Johnson just turns around, that ball arrives. You're not going to keep him out of the end zone. This combination, there's going to be some bad days ahead for some MAC defenses if they get a whole year together.
3 of his last 4 grabs in this game have been touchdowns. Point after this time around is true. Tyree Jackson and Anthony Johnson. I think they've got chemistry, pure anticipation, and a pounding in favor of the Bulls. It's college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by Geico. 23-3, 3 touchdowns from Tyree Jackson to Anthony Johnson, and the numbers of late for Tyree Jackson have been exquisite.
How about 10 of 13 for 191 yards and 3 touchdowns?
That's over the course of just his last 13 pass tries. He earns that jacket, keep himself warm, and that's a big fella. He is 6'7", nearly 250 pounds, but he's got power and touch with that throwing arm. Into the end zone for a touchback. Let's go downstairs to Tina Cervasio.
So we're talking about Tyree Jackson being 6'7". Well, and it's unbelievable because if you look back, it wasn't always this way. As a freshman in high school, he was 5'8", 135 pounds. Well, obviously he sprung up because how the heck did he get recruited by a Division I school? He shot up to 6'5" by his senior year. It was actually Buffalo that he committed to early, and then when he got so tall, he got some late offers from UConn, Eastern Michigan, but he stayed loyal to Buffalo, guys.
Appreciate that, Tina. So he had his milk.
I can relate to that. I had some heating pads in my past. I started at 5'8" in 9th grade and finished at 6'3".
The difference? Yeah. Incompletion. How did that affect you as a player while you were growing? How would that affect a guy like Tyree Jackson? Yes, you gain the advantage of this size, but it comes with it some other issues, right?
Well, it's the old, they call it hand-eye coordination. When you grow like that, it's more feet-eye coordination. Because you get a little gangly, you get a little long, you get a little awkward. He got over all that fast.
Huntley, he was the workhorse on Ball State's last drive to a field goal. 2 timeouts, 2:17 to work with. The air attack isn't a big part of Ball State, so 2 minutes and counting affects them more than other teams.
Well, gotta love what they've done the last 2 possessions. You know, last possession they should have finished it off with a touchdown, got a field goal. But if they can stay on the field, they're going to save their defense a lot of grief. And they finish it off, manage the clock, keep Buffalo off the field. Anytime you're keeping Buffalo off the field at this point, you're saving points on the scoreboard.
Only 1 of 4 on 3rd down, given motion. The lock left side. Khalil Newton tumbled down, and there were visions of a pick for Devin Russell. Some barking from the sideline as Newton believes that he was interfered with. And the raised fist for 4th down.
Well, it kind of looked like he was starting to fall down, and Russell came right over the top of him looking for that ball. That looked like good defense to me, more than bad defense in a penalty.
2nd 3 and out for Ball State. Well, Osborne, the return man, deep. There's also an up man just in case something happens. This is a clean boot. The team arrives as the ball does to Jamal Island. That up second return man, 37-yard punt, no return.
Well, the good news is no return, very good coverage. The bad news is you just put Tyree Jackson, Anthony Johnson, Osborne, and the rest of them in this Buffalo offense back on the field with 1 minute and 34 seconds and 2 timeouts in their back pocket.
And Buffalo, which has been increasingly explosive since Jackson's return, only averages 27 points a game. Already has 23 here today, and these are the drives. Points in 4 of the 5. Play fake. Intercepted! Picked off by Christian Albright, who was injured in the game's infancy and questionable to return.
Almost prophetic. We talked to Winbush last night, and he said, you know, the one thing I haven't done is reach up and snag an interception. And what happens? His running buddy on the other side does the exact thing he was talking about just a few hours ago. Look at that. You want to talk about hand-eye and wonderful hands. Not much wrong with his hands or his knee on that one.
A true freshman out of Greater Atlanta, Kennesaw, Georgia, gets his first pick. It's only the team's 6th interception for the defense all year. And a teaching moment for Tyree Jackson. Ball State armed with a couple of timeouts and now supreme field position. A little flick and the trick. Reversing with the quarterback blocking.
Justin
For
Hall.
a movement, Hall gets about 4. Jack Milas is the lead blocker.
Anytime you run a gimmick play, a reverse pass, any kind of play like that, if you can get at least 4 yards, it's a successful play. So the smartest decision Hall makes here isn't so much taking it to the outside where he's got a blocker, it's putting his head down, getting those 4 yards, and making a successful play.
Just gets it off. Newton this time around keeps his footing.
Jack Milas.
And gets popped by a couple of defenders. Gaddafi Wright was there. 1:02. 2 timeouts. We'll call one here. The Ball State has 1 timeout left. Lance Leipold fired up. He knows that his Bulls defense forced a 3 and out and then threw a pick to give it away. If you're Ball State, Randy, down 23-3, are you installing 2 plays here? If you don't lose yards on 3rd and 4, is this 4-down area?
Oh, I think for sure it is, especially with their field goal situation. I think Coach New is
Please reset the game
incumbent
clock.
upon him
1
here
minute
to
and 3 seconds.
give his players 2
1 minute
plays.
and 3 seconds.
And you could actually probably pass maybe both of them if you get in the right formation. Depends on what they come out in. They come out in 2 tight end and 2 backs. Not much mystery as to what they're going to do.
And there's the place kicker, Morgan Hagee, who is standing, arms crossed. He's not kicking into a net. He's hit from 21 today, but they've had 2 field goal blocks this year. He's had 3 on his career. And he began the year just 1 of 5 on field goals. He entered today 1 for his last 3.
Flag down.
Flag on the far side of the field. Luke Richmond, our referee.
So an illegal substitution early.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on Buffalo's head coach. That is his first unsportsmanlike foul
Called
of
on
the
the
game.
head coach,
15-yard,
Lance
half the distance
Leipold.
goal,
Well, you
automatic
saw how
first down.
exercised he was earlier in this possession. But he obviously got into the ear of the officials and rewards the sideline with a flag.
Let's take a
Remember,
look.
this is something new this year in a point of emphasis standpoint, as far as holding the sidelines a little bit more responsible. Not so much just for running on the field and whatnot, but also certain vocabulary usage, you might say. Verbal abuse of the officials.
Hall and Miller are stacked on the bottom left.
Let it go.
The look right side. Khalil Newton. Incomplete. Covered by Tatum Slack, the JUCO transfer.
I thought he was going to jump right through the tuba. See that tuba back there? Looked like that ball was thrown right in that area. It was.
The band is just off the field.
Yeah, this isn't Stanford Cal. That's not till Saturday.
Story they could tell their friends.
I didn't have to pay for a dent tuba. Guy ran into it.
Milas, ugly looking toss on the run, looking for Riley Miller. So this is the luxury of that penalty. Remember, it was 3rd down before the flag. So 3rd and 10 here. But it was Lance Leipold and then sportsmanlike conduct on the head coach that gave Ball State this wiggle room.
Now, contrary to that extra room now, you don't get significant gain or touchdown here. I think you do kick the field.
Let it go.
Bodies coming. The ball floating to Nolan Given, the tight end, with his team-leading 4th touchdown.
Well, you called it earlier about how often they find that tight end. I tell you, in that case, Coach Leipold's defense was looking at the lonely tight end because there was nobody around him. Lined up in the slot on the left side. He keeps running and no one goes to cover him.
And remember, that's a touchdown that in theory, down at 4 is a little different than 1st and 10. But in theory, without that penalty, it never would have happened. Extra point is good. But Ball State gets a touchdown with 49 seconds before halftime, and the flag on the head coach, a big part of it. And it all started with the interception at the line of scrimmage when Tyree Jackson fired and found Christian Albright, defensive lineman.
Here's the pass. Milas sees he's got a wide open receiver. That's the hardest part about it. But there is nobody on the tight end. I mean, there is nobody. That was him in motion right there. Now look, he ends up all the way back there by himself. You look at the defense bite, and they're biting like it's going to be a little screen to the outside. He just keeps going right past him.
Lance Leipold is still fired up.
I'd be careful. You might get one to grow on.
Storming the sidelines. He knows what's at stake for his Buffalo Bulls.
You remember those days, don't you?
Oh, yes.
You get that line? You want one to grow on?
Lance Leipold continues to try to find some way to express his frustration. Osborne.
DJ
44 seconds, 2 timeouts. What type of feel are you looking for if you're Buffalo from your offense? Are you running?
Well, if you throw, you're throwing short probably. But we've seen broken tackles by various people, but especially Osborne and Johnson for Coach Leipold's offense. And Jackson's been very accurate. You're talking about 10 of the last 13 for 3 touchdowns. So consistency, accuracy, and everything else goes to the side as you just sort of kneel and end this thing.
Ball State only has 1 timeout. Lance Leipold has a lot of emotion boiling currently. The lone touchdown for Ball State came on the heels of a 3rd and 4 penalty. That was an unsportsmanlike call against the veteran head coach.
Yeah, better open a few windows in that locker room, because I think the coach is going to be smoking by the time they get in there.
And Buffalo had won the toss and asked for the ball, so Ball State will have it to begin the second. A 23-10 margin in favor of the Bulls.
That is the end.
So zeros arrive, and we'll step aside. Tyree Jackson and Anthony Johnson were the story early. They hooked up for 3 touchdowns. Ball State got the late TD. And we've got a 23-10 game at the break. 23-10 the score from halftime. Ball State will have the ball when the second gets underway. John Sadak, the Hall of Famer, Randy Cross. The first half dominated by Buffalo, but a costly penalty set up the Cardinals to get an important score right before the break.
Yeah, it really did. What a huge difference between 23-3 at the half and 23-10 because of that late score by Ball State, especially when you look at it in the context that they started to run the ball effectively and they get the ball back immediately here in the second half, because stats-wise, besides rushing yards, it's all about the Buffalo Bulls. And it's all about Tyree Jackson and Anthony Johnson and that combination, because Johnson's coming in with 3 into the second half with 3 touchdowns receiving.
First half stats brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Touchdowns brought to you by Tyree Jackson and Anthony Johnson.
Well, the first time he got open, he stumbled and couldn't quite get him the ball. But after that, it was a lot of Anthony Johnson, a lot of Buffalo passing game. And later on, Ball State, after that unsportsmanlike conduct and this interception, moved the ball down the field. And Milas wide open to his tight end. Wide open, like nobody covered him wide open.
Pretty high percentage play when there's nobody in coverage.
It is if you catch it.
The core key. Adam Mitchison to kick. Malik Dunner sees it bound on pass. Could we go down to Tina Servasio, who caught up with the 2 head coaches?
John, when I spoke to Buffalo head coach Lance Leipold, he said that he was furious because the game clock had stopped after a play that it shouldn't have, and he was yelling to the referee to get his attention. And then the line judge said, "I'll get him." And then the next play started, and he just went absolutely ballistic. He said that penalty caused that touchdown. That touchdown is on me. And the reason Ball State was in that position was because of Christian Albright's interception. Head coach Mike New said that was fantastic for such a young player to come back from the injury, make that athletic play, and it was a huge momentum shift for them.
Appreciate it, Tina. Now the swing in the flat for Justin Hall. Got some more action in the late stage of the first. Tim Roberts, the stop. One of the very smart fellas with this Buffalo team. Roberts, a semifinalist for the Campbell Trophy from the National Football Foundation, the academic Heisman.
Yeah, Ball State might want to consider getting Given, the tight end who caught the touchdown, a little more involved in this passing game.
Huntley bounces it outside, caught by Damone Harris, the defensive end who called this a playoff game for his Buffalo Bulls. Now Lance Leipold, though, taking that touchdown on himself for getting that penalty. The line judge, by the way, Calvin Diggs tonight. Luke Richmond, our referee.
Well, if it's any consolation, he got the official's attention eventually.
That certainly happened. And learning moments for all. On 3rd and 1, a flag. And that comes from our line judge. Movement against Ball State.
Full start. Offense. Number 81. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Kyle Schrank, more of a blocking tight end, has just 1 catch on the year.
And he's immediately replaced by Khalil Newton.
So needing an extra 5, they bring on an extra wide receiver. Bunched up far side, Newton along with Riley Miller.
Higgins, the bottom of the screen, tight end, blocking.
Miles. And that forward momentum means a 1st down. Justin Hall takes the hits and moves the chains.
You got to really be impressed by Hall and how he's run with the ball after the catch. And really not so much in that, he's made people miss, but he's been willing to drop that shoulder. And that's 1-on-5 drop the shoulder. They couldn't get him down till late because of the persistent running he put in there.
Sounds like a great band name, Drop the Shoulder. Already 5 catches. He averages 6.5 per game, tops in the back. A zigzag run. Jared Franklin goes along for the ride nearly to the 40.
Yeah, there's another example. Huntley running the ball physically and involving linebackers and safeties. And when you're involving linebackers and safeties, that means your offensive line's doing a heck of a job inside. And that's a matchup you'll take all day long, a safety on a running back.
15 carries, 78 yards for Caleb Huntley. Secondary shows softer 4-man rush. Miles with time. Got a little greedy. Incomplete. He had options open underneath, and he threw into heavy coverage.
Yeah, trying to get that ball in there to Hall, and Williams, you see him, he's scolding himself a little bit. Look at him cut underneath that ball. That ball goes right through his hands and Hall's hands.
3rd down, 6.
So after going incomplete, Miles, who's 7 of 14 passing, facing a 3rd down and 6 with his Cardinals. A senior, one of 4 different quarterbacks to start for Ball State this year. Surprised by the snap, falls upon it to lose yards. Now remember, they have a new center, Chris Beach, who last week made his first start, the redshirt freshman, as the veteran Andrew Painish got hurt and is out for the year.
Yeah, Miles is still looking at his tight end, Hagan, coming across the formation when that ball is snapped into his right thigh pad. Lucky that wasn't a turnover.
So the rugby-style punter, Hagee, ready to boot to Osborne. Gets it away. It bounds on the play. They'll mark it at the 28-yard line. A 37-yard punt. Tyree Jackson had a pick late in the first, but also 3 touchdowns his first look in the second. That's how it shapes up in the SEC East. The Dogs still #1, but with that loss.
Yeah, don't discount Stoops and Kentucky. They're more than capable of upsetting the Dogs.
What a brushing sidestep by Theo Anderson to elude the first wave. Big pop of a little more than 5. Tyree Jackson, Anthony Johnson, they have been a dynamic duo. 3 touchdowns between that pair tonight.
Johnson and Osborne, top of the screen here. That's a heck of a duo. You've only got 3 people on that side of the offense. So somebody's getting a single coverage.
And they go opposite to Anderson, who gets swarmed and plummets forward. This will depend upon the spot. He looks to be just short. These are the numbers for the quarterback and his favorite wideout tonight.
Sometimes that's a good day.
Yes. Just the first half for Tyree Jackson, who's closing in on 300 yards, trying to become the first in Bulls history to reach 300+ yards in 3 consecutive games. Currently at 230, all in the first half. Anderson, through. Anderson gets help from Johnson. He gets knocked down in the red zone. Josh Miller able to find the running back, but Anderson finds 45 yards.
That left side of the offensive line, led by O'Hagan, the center, 77. Really nice job, just burst wide open.
Osborne on the jet sweep. Osborne steams in for a score. Only had 2 carries on the year entering this game. That's his first to find the end zone.
Yeah, you want to worry about Anthony Johnson? Go ahead, get you some. Because KJ Osborne, he can score. He can run with the ball if you throw it to him. And as you just saw there, he can run the ball if you just hand it to him and let him go. Give credit where credit's due on the outside there. That was excellent blocking by the receivers on the defense to set up that touchdown for Osborne.
Trying to get to the 30-point mark. And Mitchison accomplishes just that. It's the 4th time this year in a non-overtime game the Bulls have scored 30. And we're in the early stage of the second half as KJ Osborne streaks in. Welcome on back to Muncie. KJ Osborne hails from Michigan, but prepped at the IMG Academy down in Florida, which has become a major athletics factory, football, basketball, and more. On a jet sweep, found a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, benefited from nice blocks by Theo Anderson and Anthony Johnson's out in front of him.
Anderson had 3 carries, 54 yards on that drive. The deep boot means touchback. The Buffalo Visions of Bowling, something the program has only done twice since it moved up to the FBS ranks in 1999. Ball State trying to play spoiler after a 2-1 start for the Cardinals. A close loss at Illinois, blew out a UAB team that's actually shaped up to be pretty good, and then beat an FCS foe in Tennessee Tech. The injuries became too much. It's been all losses since, 7 in a row. Jack Milas feeds Huntley. And Huntley carries Collier. Gain of a little more than 7. Now let's take a look at the college football playoff poll powered by Ram Trucks. Alabama facing a Mercer program that only started a few years ago. Clemson faces an FCS foe in the Citadel. Miami, a lead game with the Cavs in Virginia after destroying Notre Dame. The toss. And the first down.
The ball carrier.
Khalil Hodge stride for stride with Huntley, who earns the 41-yard line.
Yeah, Huntley's impressive running continues. And they're doing it inside and they're doing it outside. There's Coach Elson, the defensive coordinator. He's got a wrapped group in front of him. He's got rows of defenders, and looks like he's installing on the fly. He's got so many new guys. He's probably got to put new defenses in.
Huntley over the 100-yard mark with that fierce series of collisions, and you can see
you got chairs, got rows of chairs right there. That's can't miss teaching right there live on the field while the offense is moving the ball. Elson and that defense is trying to figure out how to stop Buffalo.
Zach Morris, AC Slater in that group. Pay attention, Preppy. 2nd and 3. Huntley continues to power, and depending upon the spot, he's right around the 49.
Yeah,
this could be the first.
That first down's all about Huntley because he didn't stop churning his feet until he got himself a first down. Oh, he didn't get it. Boy, it sure looked like it from when they initially spotted it.
Going to have him about the football shy. Huntley all 4 carries on this drive. 3rd and less than a yard.
Let it go.
More than a yard for Malik Dunner. His team leading 7th rushing touchdown.
Yeah, that was a nice job inside. Perfect execution running-wise. We've seen Dunner come across the formation a few times tonight. Finally, they give him the ball. Watch the crease that opens up right there. Kick out, log, gone. That's like you draw it up. We saw Coach Elson, the defensive coordinator, drawing up defenses on the sideline. That's how Joey Lynch and company drew that play up. Perfectly executed for a touchdown.
Extra point true. So Malik Dunner sprung free for a 50-yard run. The fullback walk-on Cody Rudy helped to pop him, and his first run of the day, a touchdown. College football presented by Geico. NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines at 12 Eastern. 2 outstanding quarterbacks there, some big-time numbers. And there's a look at Malik Dunner, whose lone carry of the game was a 50-yard touchdown to wrap up Ball State's last drive. Sprung free by that man, Cody Rudy. The redshirt freshman, an off-the-ball hybrid tight end, more of a fullback, a walk-on from Middletown, Indiana, just 25 minutes down the road, who was voted one of the toughest players on the team as a redshirt freshman based on off-season and spring workouts and conditioning. Osborne. Right through Rudy. Wrestled down at the 30 after a 23-yard return. Tyree Jackson calling out the plays. Let's see what the Bulls are able to muster here. Emmanuel Reed alongside. Back to the ground. Reed gets nothing. Only a yard. Bulls need to win tonight and to win at home on Senior Day against Ohio next week to get to 6 victories and bowl eligibility. Something that head coach Lance Leipold spoke of in his very first meeting with the then Buffalo athletic director, now the shot caller at UCF, Danny White. The goal was to be a consistent bowl participant.
Tell you, with some of the talent he's got here now at Buffalo, that's coming.
Jackson, wide open. This has happened multiple times today. Antonio Nubb with blocks. Finally ripped down by Bryce Cosby.
Yeah, you break, contain, you break the pocket. Like you saw Jackson do, John, that's how a guy comes wide open like that if you're done. The defense drops. They're looking at the quarterback. All of a sudden, Jackson looks up. Nobody's covering down.
Ball down. And it's the receiver, Nunn,
Ruling on the
who
field
falls upon
is
it.
an incomplete pass. Second down.
Ruling incomplete pass per referee Luke Richmond.
They have some negative plays on occasion in this Buffalo offense. Some of it's self-inflicted, but I love the resiliency. They come right back and keep attacking.
Slot left is Anthony Johnson. An extra defender creeps over. Blitz comes near side. Jackson throws far to Johnson. Too long. Johnson defended by Bryce Cosby, the center on the backside. Lost his footing.
Now there was a nice job of going high-low on Johnson. Jackson had nowhere to put that ball. There's a defender short underneath Johnson and one over the top.
57-yard play got them this prime real estate, dwarfing their number of 45-plus yard plays from a year ago. Johnson motions on 3rd and 10. Nobody goes with him. Under pressure, throws it away. Manuel Reed closest to it.
Yeah, that just screams zone, John. When no one goes with a receiver like that, they're in quarters. So every defensive back in the back end, they've each got a quarter of the field. Then you bring the blitz in front of that. You make Jackson make a quick decision. Give him nowhere to go with the ball.
So a 29-yard field goal try. Mitchison is hit from 33. No good. His 9th field goal miss of the year at Ball State. Hanging in. Tyree Jackson back to the sidelines. No points on that possession. Back in Muncie, here are tonight's Geico difference makers. Tyree Jackson, the quarterback, and the man who's been on the receiving end of those 3 touchdowns, wide receiver Anthony Johnson. They have been having themselves a grand night.
Yeah, they really have. And Johnson's actually added a little bit of everything. Running after the catch. Saw him make a couple of nice blocks. Helping out Osborne.
He's tied his career high for touchdowns. Huntley has been the workhorse. Tries to bang it out. It's shouldered by Tim Roberts. Picks up about 5. Huntley, a very bruising back.
Yeah. Tell you, Roberts and Williamson, the two safeties for Buffalo, have seen about as much of Huntley as they really care to. They're getting a pretty steady diet of the Ball State running back.
20 carries, 108 yards. Feels throwback. No touchdowns just yet. Pressure coming and a low toss, incomplete. Looking for Devin Reese.
Justin Cole was the intended receiver.
So Jack Milas.
You hear that? You hear him yell out Atlanta. I don't know if that's a check or just sort of one of their standard calls, but he can't help but hit one of the guys from Atlanta when he yells that, or turn around and hand it to one.
The Cardinal logo and the black and red combination, it does feel somewhat Falcon-esque at times. Oh, here's the blitz. Open target, Huntley to the back. And they get the first down. He can catch too.
And what a wise decision too. He's coming out and he has the presence of mind once he secures that catch to stick the foot in the ground right there, put on the brakes, and cut back inside where there's more open territory, and he breaks a tackle or so and gets himself a first down.
Split backfield here. The motioning Dunner off target. You appreciate, though, what Ball State is trying to do. Joey Lynch, former quarterback himself for the Cardinals, class of 2007, trying to shift Milas around, attack this defense from multiple points and keep them honest.
Hey, he's trying to keep the focus off of Milas more than anything else. I mean, the problem with the offense is the quarterback, not so much the plays as it is the inexperience of him.
Dunner, counter. Showing some shake on a tackle machine to Khalil Hodge. That earns him an extra few, a little more than 5.
You saw Dunner on that long run, and he went from 0 to 60 in a flash, and he does that in a phone booth. So Hodge gains himself into a couple of extra yards by making the linebacker stop and start. Running backs recover quick from that. Linebackers, not so much.
Hodge double-digit tackles, but that's nothing new. He's had as many as 20 in a game this year. That was against Minnesota. On 3rd down, Milas one-footed. Dunner, as the harm arrives, makes the grab. They're a yard short on their own side of the 50. What do you do?
I think if you're Ball State in this situation, you punt the ball. As effective as this Buffalo offense has been, you'd love to stay on the field. I mean, you could always fake it in this situation because it's prime territory near the 50-yard line like this. But you punt it and give them the long field. Don't give them the short field.
Nathan Snyder to punt this time around. And a timeout called by Buffalo.
Buffalo. That is their first charge timeout of the half. 30-second timeout.
Leipold not happy that they had to burn a timeout in advance of a punt.
I think he had an extra body or so out there that wasn't supposed to be there, and Coach Leipold in the sideline got notified from upstairs and did the math and called the timeout.
Let's take a look from on high. How many we got here?
Well, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got 11. My guess is, given Coach Leipold's vehemence with which he called that timeout, it was the wrong combination of the 11 that were out there.
They've changed punters, by the way. Nathan Snyder went out to punt before the timeout. Now it's the rugby-style Morgan Hagen. Also serves as the place kicker. Looked like he was shaping up to throw the ball, but instead boots it. Right at the MAC logo at the 25, a 31-yard punt. Now that said, no chance for Buffalo to run it back. We have a chance to go down to Tina Cervasio.
Well, John and Randy, you guys were talking earlier about Ball State defensive coordinator David Elson's meetings that he's been having. What he's doing each time the defense comes back to the bench, he goes over the mistakes they made on the previous drive. A lot of times there's been miscues, but several times he showed when the Sam or the Mike where guys are in wrong positions, and that is how Buffalo's been able to get down the field.
I appreciate that, Tina. Coaching on the fly, and goes back to what you were talking about, Randy. Sometimes the defensive play fits, sometimes not so much. And here, the fit rests with the offense, and Emmanuel Reed, he picks up the first down, tripped up by Lorenzo Holmes.
Now, when you have some continuity on either side of the ball, you're able to do some pretty special things. Case right there, someone has to have contain. No one has contain. Big running game.
Low toss by Jackson, incomplete. It feels like the rhythm for Tyree Jackson, and there his favorite target, Anthony Johnson, not quite as crisp these last few possessions.
No, the completions, aren't hitting guys in the chest. They've backed off, I should say, slightly here in the last possession or so, going down the field effectively. Emphasis on effectively. Just because you throw it and you overthrow people doesn't mean it's effective.
Jackson's 1 for his last 6 with that pick late in the first half. O-line is doing its job up front, though, for Emmanuel Reed. They are getting some chasms of space, and it's everywhere. It's off tackle. It's right up the gut. trying to swing them out in the flat.
Yeah,
O-line is winning.
Goldsby and Hartley on that right side. The star of that line, if actually star and O-line go together, is O'Hagan. That center. He's one of the better centers in the country. And he's a kid that can be really physical, and he loves finishing people.
His roommate, by the way, the quarterback, Tyree Jackson. Flushed. High steps out of the tackle from Hammonds. Johnson! Right over the top. 4 touchdowns from Jackson to Johnson.
And that's a touchdown because Jackson has the wherewithal. His legs feeling healthy enough from the move a little bit. He moves out of the pocket. Look at Johnson adjust. You should do one or two things usually when your quarterback moves like that. Either move towards him, or if you're the near side receiver, go long. Johnson goes long. As soon as he sees Jackson break the pocket, he just pivots right, goes long, and Jackson finds a way to find him.
343 yards, the first in program history to reach 300 in 3 straight games. Could he reset his career high? Portman Brace on the sidelines.
Well, that was last week, 406 yards. And they keep giving him wide open receivers. He'll just keep competing them. Yeah, Mike. Johnson decides to do a little simulated tape break.
Tyree Jackson entered this game with 6 passing touchdowns. He's got 4 tonight, all to Anthony Johnson, the leader in the MAC, just outside the top 5 in the country in receiving yards per game, 153 tonight.
Yeah, if you hadn't had a chance to see this young man, either young man really, but especially Tyree Jackson, you're going to see analogies all over the place at the start of next football season. Talking about Cam Newton-like. A lot of this is going to be because of his size. Part of it will be because of his ability and his the way he can use his feet. But this kid was blessed with a pretty doggone good arm, and there's running left, throwing back across your body, and hitting a wide open receiver.
Now a deep kick and a touchback. Spectacular display. Anthony Johnson, who's a cousin of Jadeveon Clowney. They text each other sometimes before games. 4 of his last 5 grabs tonight are touchdowns.
That warrants a note from your cuz down in Houston. Maybe he'll definitely get a chance to see him on some highlights over the course of the next few days.
Tyree Jackson, who was sidelined for 4 games with a sprained knee. It's only his 3rd game back. I guess it is mid-season form, just about literally, right?
Yeah, and he's having a stat stuffer kind of a performance. He and Johnson.
Big run on first down. Hundley continues to pound. Cardinals winless in league play, while Buffalo and Tyree Jackson 2-4 in the MAC. If they can hold on tonight and win against Ohio to close out the regular season, bowling could be in Buffalo's future for the 3rd time in program history. Hundley slams on the brakes, and his vision allows him, along with his physicality, to get nearly to the first down marker.
Yeah, if this Buffalo team can finish the year at 6-6, they'd be pretty high on a list of teams you don't want to see in a bowl. Because the role they'll be on offensively, you know, Coach Leipold and his staff have done a really nice job of rallying this team over the last half of the season or so. Of course, let's not fool ourselves. Getting Tyree Jackson back has made a huge difference to this offense.
A 6'7" difference. First down for Hundley. Latched onto by Chuck Harris. Now keep in mind that in the series history, there's only been 1 Buffalo victory ever against Ball State. None here in Muncie. That 1 win was in the MAC championship game, 2008. That was part of a big year for Buffalo. That was the first ever Bulls team to make a bowl. They had moved up to FBS in 1999, went bowling that year. They get to win a bowl game, so that's still an accomplishment that could be a first. First down, Miles. Gets the hookup with Riley Miller, the walk-on. They get nearly 8. And remember that Lance Leipold has success in playoff-like scenarios. Won 6 national championships in 8 years at the Division III level with Wisconsin Whitewater, and got a lot of his success on the national stage against the previous perennial power, Mount Union.
Most championships ever on any level for a coach, isn't it? 6? I mean, Paterno had 5. That was a big deal.
Dunner gets the first down. He was the fastest to 100 wins in college football history. Now Larry Karras, an outstanding run at Mount Union. His son now the head man for the Purple Raiders, who ranked number 2 in Division III. What a rise. He was a quarterback at Wisconsin Whitewater himself, became the head man at his alma mater, much like Mike New on the other side for Ball State.
That was the end of the third quarter.
We are through 3. Buffalo has exploded for 37 points thanks to Jackson and Johnson. College football presented by Geico. Welcome on back to Muncie as we hit the 4th, 37-17. Buffalo on top, Ball State hanging. John Sadak, the Hall of Famer, and Randy Cross. It's been all about quarterback and wide receiver for Buffalo tonight. Tyree Jackson, Anthony Johnson, they have taken this game over.
Yeah, it's been amazing what has happened. 3rd time in Buffalo history, a receiver has caught 4 touchdowns, and he's made it look extremely easy. And I tell you, Tyree Jackson, as good as he looked the last couple of weeks, has kept taking steps. This is going to be a pretty good young quarterback.
An important drive for Ball State off the play fake. Milas, the long look, and he hooks up with Hall. Into the end zone, touchdown. Tatum slack in coverage. The 4th quarter begins with a 53-yard bomb.
You know, just when Buffalo thinks they're hammering the ball at us, we better bow up and stop this run. You bring a nice little play action. Milas does a beautiful job of bringing that ball down and delivering it to a wide open Hall.
Had a chance to catch up with the voice of Ball State, Joel Gadet, a rising young star you'll see on CBS Sports Network later this year in the basketball season. And he talked about the ability to play fake for Jack Milas, and that helped set up Justin Hall. The separation, thanks to the fake, and Hall pays it off. Ball State not going away.
Can you please correct the score?
Let's take a look at the Chick-fil-A game summary back here in Muncie. 343 in the air for Buffalo, and a program record-tying 4 touchdown grabs for Anthony Johnson.
And the big plays have come also out of the Ball State running game. We just saw a big one in the passing game finally. That's why Ball State is where they are, only down 13 points.
Jack Milas sold it with the play action. Justin Hall paid it off. That separation on Tatum slack, 53-yard scoring strike. A lot of moxie on display from Ball State, which has suffered some lopsided losses. Average score margin is just under -30 per game this year for the Cardinals. 5. Osborne. Outstanding coverage by Ball State. Michael Robinson Jr. holds Osborne to a 12-yard return.
Usually you go dead sideways on a kick return. You better have a return to that side set up, because you're really susceptible to taking a hit like that. You got one guy going sideways and one guy going dead straight as fast as he can. That's not a very good matchup.
Impactful player for Ball State. I want you to guess his year athletically and where he's from.
Go.
freshman from Greater Atlanta.
What a shot.
First down run for Reed. He gets a little more than a yard. Jalen Thomas stopped it.
Coach New was talking about recruiting this past year. They had a big get-together in December. They brought all these recruits in. And they brought all these kids from Atlanta all in one big group with their families and everybody else to kind of show them what an atmosphere they could have here at Ball State. Obviously worked really well.
Bang it outside. Reed to the 24. And Mike New spoke about how the military background for some of those young men from the Greater Atlanta area was an extra bonus. He said they're going to move, right, from the American Southeast, from Atlanta to Muncie, Indiana. Homesickness will settle in. And young men that have had that military life, that have moved from city to city, base to base.
Every couple of years, their whole life.
They've got that mental toughness and the experience. Buffalo's got over 500 yards of offense. Jackson, flush. Jackson down! Sacked in the backfield. Anthony Wimbush, who entered a sack shy of the all-time Ball State career sack record, ties his current coach, Keith McKenzie.
Yeah, Keith McKenzie, the D-line coach, and this is a persistent sack because there was coverage. Wimbush just breaks down the pocket and gets to Jackson because don't be fooled. Jackson had nowhere to go with it. McKenzie's got company with that sack record.
First 3 and out for Buffalo. So Ball State got a score. Outstanding kick coverage. Now the 3 and out. Nearly blocked that punt. Takes a Buffalo friendly bound. The Bulls down it at the 33.
Wow, I mean, we got 12:38 to go. Big sack of Tyree Jackson. Can Ball State get to within one score with another touchdown here? They're going to be going for it hard on the run.
Network, the highlight, the unique showcase at Fenway Park, BC UConn, 7 Eastern, only on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Randy and I are probably partial to San Jose State, Colorado State. We'll be on that game, but 14th all-time.
It's a beautiful new stadium, but it's not Fenway Park.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have that same pageantry. Ball State has a running game that has emerged. Caleb Huntley, body blow, working on this Buffalo defense.
And that's what set up that last touchdown is some of the body blow that Huntley in the running game and that offensive line have set up. And this is an offensive line that's much maligned. People all over the place playing in new spots, but they found a way to really deliver in this running game tonight.
137 yards, a career high. Rudy, the lead blocker, swinging outside and inviting the harm, piercing into Buffalo territory by a half yard, barreling into Chuck Harris at 6'4", 265.
Well, in the first half, Ball State had 118 yards. So far in the second half, they've already got 200 yards. And that should have been stopped for nothing. 0 yards. Instead, Huntley breaks it outside and gets some nice positive yards.
That's a red shirt freshman. They're missing quite a bit this year, including James Gilbert. Into the flat for Hall. And Hall wins more yards as he's suplexed down by Brandon Williams and wins the first in the process.
Yeah, well, Hall has done a very nice job. We've seen time after time of putting his shoulder down and getting the extra yards. Sometimes it's been really like no baloney. I'm just going to go straight ahead until somebody tackles me. And a lot of the times he just has refused to go down and has kept his legs churning for extra yards.
I haven't had a bologna sandwich in a long time, Randy.
Or spam, for that matter, here.
Play fake. Off his back foot, dying duck. He was out of bounds anyway. And incomplete. Trying to hook up with Justin Hall. But speaking of the running back loss, James Gilbert, over 2,000 career yards, 23 touchdowns.
Now, he was out of bounds. Then he comes in. And you get the impression Hall knew wasn't worth catching.
So here's 2nd and 10.
Let it go.
Earns a few. This is a similar recipe to how Ball State beat Buffalo just last year. They did so with that grinding running game. James Gilbert had the 2nd best rushing performance in program history. And this bruising running attack has fueled this 218-yard burst in the 2nd half.
And Dunner is a good mix-up from Huntley. Dunner is all speed. Sophomore running back out of Indy.
4 runs, 63 yards for Dunner. Motion from Gibbon, the tight end, to Hall. That one's red, and he sidesteps the first hitter, spins out of another hit. And he'll be only a yard shy of the first.
Should have been tackled for no gain. If you're a defensive coordinator and you're the Buffalo DC, you're not happy.
You saw Brian Borland, who works on the field these days, first time in a decade with Lance Leipold that he coordinates from the field, said he needed to deliver the message. What's the message on 4th and a yard?
Physical, fill the gaps. End of report.
The physical Huntley. Deluged by Bulls. This will depend upon the spot.
This is right at it. If they mark it where the far official is coming in, they're going to measure it, and it might come up about the point of the ball short. About 3 or 4 inches from the looks of it.
Ball State's chances of winning the game likely hinge on this spotted measurement.
If you look at where the chains are coming in from, this ball is short of the 31, and they had to get inside the 31. So it's going to come up about a foot or so short.
Cardinals 5 of 16 on 4th down entering the game, 121st in the country. And they fall short. The Bulls hold on 4th down and a yard. Giant stop for Lance Leipold's defense.
Yep, Coach Borland, right call. Fill the gaps. Hold up the blockers, let your linebackers and safeties inside scrape to the ball, and Huntley just could not get the momentum going forward to get that first down.
The ruling on the field is the runner was short of the line to gain. The previous play is under further review.
They are taking another look, just announced by referee Luke Richmond, that the play is under review. Is there enough wiggle room to move the spot of the football here?
Remember, it's got to get inside the 31. At any time does it appear he got inside the 31. This might be the best angle. He's met, he starts to churn forward. Harris helps to hold him up. When he comes down, his shoulder is about at the 31-yard line, but the ball being in his elbow area of his arm, that's where that extra distance comes up, where they came up short.
Nick Baniel is our replay official in this MAC crew, and he'll have the call here. Should the spot be changed, and you saw how close it was when the chains were yanked, if you inch this up just a little bit.
Well, remember, it's got to be something blatant that tells you the spot was wrong.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. He is short of the line to gain. First down, Buffalo.
So the Bulls have the ball, and now it's on Ball State to try to turn over Lance Leipold's team. Not simple. Ball State entered -6 in turnover margin on the year. But that'll be the call for Mike New's team, down 37-24. A chilly November night in the upper Midwest, 37-24. Buffalo the lead in the ball, turning Ball State over on downs as we revisit your keys, Randy Cross.
Yeah, Buffalo, only 2 sacks allowed. They come into the game as not allowing too many, so giving up 2 is actually pretty good. Ball State went on first down and finished so far 18 first downs, and the defense has done a pretty good job of getting after Buffalo where they can. 13-point difference here. Buffalo really needs an emphatic drive. and some big plays to sort of put Ball State away so they don't believe they can come back and win at any time.
Keep it on the ground on first down to Theo Anderson. You saw the time of possession for Ball State. Remember that at the game's start, Buffalo was doubling up Ball State in time of possession, 12.5 minutes to 6, when it was ripping out to a multi-score lead. That's how dominant Ball State's rushing attack has been, and it's meant more limited opportunities for Tyree Jackson and the Buffalo offense.
Yeah, very important for Jackson and Buffalo. Use the play clock, let it get down in the 2 or 3 area before you snap the ball, and just keep people in bounds and make first down.
Another run. Initially dead to right to the backfield. Anderson slips through, gets a few. Bryce Cosby picks up the tackle. Big third down coming here.
Yeah, went from a -2 run to a +2 run because of some nice brake pads. Little stop, little start, little restart, and a spin got him those yards.
We're not too far from Tommy Boy area, right?
Nah, we're about that kind of drive. Watch out for the deer on the way home.
3rd and 6. You jinxed me. I'm going to text you immediately. Jackson over the middle, camping out, getting low and making the grab. Tyler Mabry, a sophomore with a big-time snare, and that moves the chains.
Yeah, this is the part of a football game you can be a brutally efficient offense and throw the ball nearly half the time. You get the catch, you stay in bounds. You get the catch, you get down. Keep that clock moving.
First grab of the day for Mabry. And a look to the sidelines for Tyree Jackson.
And they're going to let this play clock. It's down under 7, 8. See it getting down there? You can do this every play. This is a big part of winning in these situations.
Rumble for Anderson. Brandon Martin trips him up at the 48. So a gain of 5. More time wilting off that clock. Lance Leipold knows how to finish and win games. Lost only 6 against 109 wins during his days on the sidelines for Division III Wisconsin Whitewater.
That's called knowing how to finish. That's knowing how to not just win, but teaching your team how to put teams away. And a long, sustained drive like this puts Ball State away.
Anderson and Reed have done a great job on the ground. Here it's Reed. Finds the edge! Angled out of play by Romero Wade, the safety.
But what a beautiful, patient run. Great example of a running back waiting, throttling at about 70–80%, and then seeing his opening and suddenly spurting at 100% down the sideline. Beautiful job by Reed.
34-yard run that has him over the century mark, 112 on the game. Tonight's Red Zone brought to you by Verizon. 5 trips, 3 touchdowns, and a field goal. Right back to Reed. Earns a few. And more time drains as Buffalo try to close in on its 5th win.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It really is. And that play clock, you're seeing Tyree Jackson do a really nice job of, heck, he snapped it at about half a second, 1 or 2 times on this drive. But Coach New knows that things are slipping away. He's got 3 timeouts in his pocket. You get inside of 5, maybe 4, you better start thinking about using one.
7th play of the drive for Buffalo. It's the 6th run, right up the gut. Emmanuel Reed, 1st and goal.
Talk about this Buffalo offensive line being, one of the top 20, 25 probably in the country. Look at him do a little work in that hole that ensues. And if you got defensive players coming from the sides trying to put arms on running backs at this level, forget about it.
I know you still had a little bit of New York in you. First and goal. Reed. He's content. Clock continues to drain. Sure, you'd like the score, but every second that fades away brings the Bulls closer. And a down Cardinal.
Timeout for an injury.
Looks like Fred Schrader from Mike New's defense. Former walk-on who earned a scholarship, the redshirt junior, out of Yuma, Arizona.
Decent length drive here. This defense has spent a lot of time on the field. And they've seen about as much of the Buffalo offense as they care for. Almost 5 minutes in this drive off the clock so far. Right now it's 4 minutes and 35 seconds to go.
And it's been a banged up year for Ball State. Down so many impactful players. Riley Neal, the quarterback. One of the backups, Zach Blair. The star running back, James Gilbert, who just about on his own beat Buffalo last year with over 260 yards on the ground. Jordan Hogue, the wide receiver. Corey Lacanaria, outstanding return man and their primary wideout. His injury opened the door for Justin Hall to become the go-to wide receiver.
And this is just some of the injuries. That's not all of them. There's a couple of quarterbacks with a view of the game. Not the one they thought they'd have by the at the beginning of the year.
Well, Schrader off the field. Mike New paralyzed by time and score. He's got 3 timeouts, but Buffalo a grinding nearly 5-minute drive almost entirely on the ground. And the blue and white of Buffalo making Ball State black and blue. This drive basically the game, along with that stop on 4th down that ignited it.
Yeah, it's a drive. It's not going to kill the clock completely, but when you get this thing at about 9 minutes to go in the game, you make it like a 9-minute drill. Because the rate they're going, there's no reason to say they're not going to eat the good bit of this clock. Started at 9 minutes and 32 seconds. Right now we're at 4:26. So 5:06 off the clock so far.
Our referee, Luke Richmond, just gave an order for the clock to start on his whistle, and you could see the shake of the head by Lance Leipold. Remember, he was upset at the erosion or lack thereof of the clock late first half and got so upset it brought about a penalty that allowed Ball State to score its lone touchdown of the first half. Changed 3rd and 4 to 1st and 10. They eventually converted on 3rd and long and got the touchdown.
Yeah, winning at the half 23-10 instead of 23-3.
For Tyree Jackson, it's been relatively easy this drive. Just hand the ball off.
Yeah, this is the football version of the sleeper hold in wrestling.
The arm up once, twice, 3 times. Theo Anderson bulldozes to the 3.
I gotta think you gotta use these timeouts. You got 3 of them in your pocket.
And with 3rd down coming here, if you let up the score, it becomes moot anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, suddenly you're looking at a 20-point game.
9 plays, 8 runs for Buffalo on the drive. Anderson, another run, and he gets smashed by Kevin Willis.
How about that play up front by Kevin Willis? That's how an interior lineman plays a run play down with his back against the goal line.
Timeout. Ball State.
Jackson fumbled the snap a little bit, but look at the penetration in general, but specifically Willis.
And Ball State calls timeout here, so the 2 teams huddle up. The Cardinals will have 2 left. Buffalo talks it over, 4th and goal. And we're back. Welcome on back, 4th and goal. Adam Mitchison, who has missed 6 times this year from 40 and in. He's missed from 29 today, from 21 to make it a 16-point difference.
He yanked the last one dead left on that 29-yard miss. Does he overcompensate and push it?
Drills it. So Adam Mitchison, 30-year starter, connects from 21 yards out after a 6-minute and 31-second drive. Let's take a look at tonight's Cabela's most valuable performance.
Well, decisions. When you look at this Buffalo offense, but the job that Anthony Johnson did at receiver, sure, he needs somebody to throw him the balls. But man, most of these catches, he was wide open. And on that one, that was a fantastic effort. What a job by Jackson. 4 touchdowns.
Anthony Johnson, the happy recipient. 3rd time in program history, 4 touchdown grabs in a game. The last occasion, 2012. Tyree Jackson, 57%, 350 yards.
But 4 touchdown catches on 7 receptions? That's a pretty good percentage. That'd be a batting average. Jose Altuve did do that.
MVP. Lost football. That'll injure field position for Ball State. With less than 3 minutes still to go. Buffalo 40 points on the board. Trying to take a step closer to a 3rd ever bowl berth. They need to finish off Ball State tonight and win against a solid Ohio team next week. Milas back to the field. He's got Malik Dunner, not Caleb Huntley. Does that mean more passes, which you anticipate would come? Down 16.
At this point, no doubt.
Dangerous ball, knocked free, looking for Nolan Given, the tight end.
Given kind of backing away as the ball was coming up to him. Had that thing zeroed in fine, but that scissor pinch by the 2 defensive backs for Buffalo thwarted that pass.
Those were not safety scissors. And they were running, too. It's a no-no.
Let it go!
Hammered as he throws, incomplete. Looking for Riley Miller. A tough effort to try to step up. He knew that hit was coming.
Yeah, nice job by Harris. Both Harrises. Damone and Chuck, last few plays, getting some penetration.
You applaud the effort from this Ball State team. They've used 4 different starting quarterbacks. They've played 12 true freshmen in starting roles at some point this year. Harris again. And the fire underthrown to Dunner. They've had 31 first-time starters. They've been ravaged by injury this year. And the pluckiness, the fight, even in the wake of some giant lopsided losses, is still there.
Yeah, that word plucky would pertain probably as much to anything in Mike New's offensive line. Playing in all kinds of different positions, especially Vinny Palazzi.
0 for 1 on 4th down today, make it 0 for 2. The arrival again of Chuck Harris. Now, athletic director Mark Sandy had a sit down with the Star Press newspaper here in town and said, quote, there are no issues going forward for next season in terms of Mike New's status as the head coach. Said to the casual fan, I'd say, let's give it some time. Let's watch these next 2 games and enjoy them, and then we'll show you next year.
Well, this will be a whole different Ball State football team with a trained, very good offense. You think about, you know, you get a quarterback that knows this offense well, you get an effective, healthy offensive line. They've got a pretty good receiver and running back group. They just found that just by necessity. be as effective an offense as there is in the mound.
Mike New is a competitor, so is Tyree Jackson.
Timeout.
He made the most of his 4-game sideline with a sprained knee. There are few that come back as quarterbacks that use the run game as part of their arsenal and are arguably better. Jackson's performed better since he hurt his knee.
Yeah, he's had to study and work at his craft just a little bit more. They haven't altered the offense, it appears, all that much, because he still runs the RPOs, runs that fake with the running game into the line. It's more of an implied fake when it comes to him running the ball.
Here's a look. This is assuming Buffalo holds on, gets the win. Would send the Bulls to 5-6. They have a matchup with Ohio next week. That's not an automatic.
Yeah, not at 8-3 and 5-2 in the conference.
But a win and in. Kyle Van Freese at quarterback hands it off. Van Freese, All-State in his native Ohio, started the game at Miami of Ohio. Still a young pup, only a redshirt freshman. They used Drew Anderson at quarterback as well when Tyree Jackson was banged up, and he performed spectacularly at 10 touchdowns, 1 pick, but hurt his shoulder. He's out for the year. Those are the numbers for Van Freese. Tyree Jackson done. Jackson a sophomore, Van Freese a freshman. Well, the internal clock pretty strong for the freshman. With the play clock at 1. Just short, Vino Anderson. Bryce Cosby tripped him up. But Romero Wade slow to get up.
Yeah, I got a slow rising Cardinal there. Romero Wade. Good, solid, straight ahead, well blocked running play there for the Cardinals. Or against the Cardinals defense, I should say, for Buffalo.
So we take a look at Romero Wade's left leg and foot, flexing that cleat. A sophomore, a redshirt, got the start at free safety today. Watch that foot, stepped on by his teammate.
I think you can actually qualify that as a stomping.
Fair.
A little guy steps on your foot. You get a linebacker or D lineman get on that foot, that's a stomping, especially with the what looked to be at least 1.5 person's weight.
Jeremiah Jackson, 5'11", 230. At the unfriendly stomping fire. Buffalo Bulls, their most explosive scoring day in a non-overtime game this year. Now, yes, they scored 68, but that was 7 overtimes against Western Michigan. That's when Drew Anderson set the MAC record, fell 3 yards short of 600 in the air. Bit of an asterisk when you play a 4.5-hour game.
Yeah.
Big package out there, working the clock.
7 overtimes, you start running out of relief pitchers.
I think so. I think position players start throwing. Maybe part of the grounds crew, fans in the stands. The gentlemanly thing, you know, Buffalo can easily try to pound it in, but the math says you don't have to. Lance Leipold not trying to run up the score here with 40 points on the board.
Yeah, and on the other side, no reason to call those timeouts. Go ahead and let this clock run out.
Big smile for the big fella, Tyree Jackson. The 6'7", 245-pound sophomore with 4 touchdown passes today, all caught by that man, number 83, Anthony Johnson, who became the 4th in program history with 1,000 yards last week, and tonight tied the program record with 4 receiving touchdowns.
And KJ Osborne, not a bad night for him either. Anderson and Reed running the ball. And a very effective offensive line for Coach Leipold and the Bulls.
The Bulls have won back-to-back games on the heels of a 4-game slide. 2 head coaches with immense respect for each other. Lance Leipold and Mike New. The Bulls are 5-6. And with a win next week, Tyree Jackson and company would have 6 victories and be bowl eligible. It's their first win against Ball State since the 2008 MAC title game. That was the only win entering tonight, and the first ever victory for the Bulls in Muncie.
And they're going to have to do it against Frank Solich's Ohio Bobcats that are 8-3 on the year, 5-2 in the conference. So you want to earn a bowl game, you're going to have to do it against about the best that the MAC has to offer.
And Frank Solich, someone that Lance Leipold is very familiar with in his background as well. Ball State showed plenty of fight tonight. Reason for optimism for this very young and injury-riddled team that'll have a lot of those stars back next season. Ball State will still have its senior day against Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, and have some extremely experienced underclassmen next year. And I wouldn't want to be some of those upperclassmen coming back from injuries, trying to get my job back. It's going to be some serious competition come spring.
Let's go downstairs. Tina Servasio standing by with the Stars.
Yes, and big smiles on Tyree Jackson and Anthony Johnson's faces. What a hookup with these guys today with these 4 touchdowns. First of all, Tyree, congratulations. You become the first quarterback in Bulls history to have 3 consecutive games with over 300 yards passing. Think about it. What has allowed you to have those types of games?
Well, first off, the offensive line, and then, I mean, anyone who's watched those games has seen this guy next to me. You know, he's a great receiver, and all of them are, but, you know, he's really special, and it's just fun to play with him.
Yep. Tyree was out for 4 weeks with that knee injury, comes back. What's different and maybe even better about him these last 3 games?
I mean, he's back better, throwing the ball better. You know, I just got to make the plays for him, and he's going to give me the ball.
Anthony, what did you have to do? Tyree, that was the last touchdown, the 4th touchdown. You came out of the pocket, Tyree. You had to adjust your route. So what did you see, and what kind of connection have you guys already built in the chemistry that allowed you to still get wide open for that?
I mean, we practice on it, but he come out the pocket. It's like a scramble drill, so I just take off to any open spot of the field, and that's what I did and scored.
Tyree, this keeps you guys alive for bowl eligibility. 1 more game to go. What was the importance coming into this game in all of your mindsets?
I mean, if you cut on any MAC game, anyone can get beat, you know. So when we came out here completely focused, and now we're looking towards Ohio and trying to get that 6th win. You know, I know the guys are excited. I know Coach Leipold's excited, but now it's time to lock into Ohio.
All right, Anthony, one last question, though, about you guys hooking up and all that. Before the game, I talked to Tyree this week. He said you're one of the best ball players he's ever played with. But talk about Tyree and what he's been able to do despite the injury, come back like this and lead your team.
I mean, he's a great player, you know, like great thrower. Like he keeps his team in check. He makes great plays for us, and like we all got to be on the same page with everything, and that's what keeps us going, keep this team motivated, and the offense pushing.
All right, guys, congratulations. Thanks for stopping by. John, Randy, back to you.
Well, thank you, Tina. It sets up that big showdown with Ohio. Lance Leipold, Buffalo head coach, spent 3 years at Nebraska under Frank Solich, one of his mentors early in his coaching career. And bowl eligibility will be on the line. Final score, 40-24 Bulls. For the Hall of Famer, Randy Cross, Tina Servasio, and our entire crew, I'm John Sadak. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Now let's send you to Inside College Football, presented by Go RVH.